Uh, yeah, it will be recorded. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm starting. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? Well, welcome to all the entities that have already joined us. My name is Darko Arsov, and I'm actually a project manager from Crimson Capital. I'm also very much involved with Business Accelerator UKIM, who is one of the co-organizers of today's online panel discussion, together with the Center for Technology Transfer and Innovation, INNOFEIT. Now I would like to introduce our moderator and host for today, Michael Gold, to take over the role as a moderator and to begin the discussion. Michael?
Thank you very much, Darko. As Darko said, my name is Michael Gold. I'm the Managing Director of Crimson Capital, and I'd like to welcome you to our panel. The title of the panel is Ideation, Research, Tech Transfer. How can universities and startups transform corporates? And what we mean by that is we all know that research and development is important. But a lot of research is done in Macedonia and around the world that never actually goes on to help people, because for research and technology to benefit people or benefit society, it has to be commercialized. It has to be turned into a product or a service that can actually get out in the world. And that's really often our biggest challenge. And so that's really what we want to talk about, how the different parts of the ecosystem can actually work together better for us to develop more products and services that can actually help people. We've seen a lot of crises in the last 2 decades, but I think in many ways right now, we're facing unprecedented challenges with the global pandemic, COVID-19, several major global economic shocks, in many countries, political crises or uncertainty, including my own, and leaves a lot of us wondering, what's next. But if you look at, for example, the recent breakthroughs in vaccine development, you can see that research and development turned into products and services can in fact help us overcome the current challenges and future challenges. And the new vaccines are being developed in record time using very modern technology. And a lot of that has come out of research labs. And you see that there's a collaboration between universities, research institutes, businesses, investors, government, which is bringing these developments to market, which can help us solve some of our problems. So we know we need more research and development, but we also need more commercialization. In Macedonia, the funding for research and development could be better. That's something that's important. But also we need better collaboration between the various parties. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. As Darko mentioned, this event is hosted by Business Accelerator UKIM and INNOFEIT. And overall, Global Entrepreneurship Week, which has become extremely successful in North Macedonia from a first start 3 years ago with one event, and third year now we have a plethora of tremendous events, of which this is one. And I would like to turn the floor to Simona to tell us about Global Entrepreneurship Week and Startup Macedonia.
Thank you, Michael, for the opportunity to speak here. Dear hosts from Business Accelerator, UKIM, and Innovate, it is my great pleasure to address the Global Entrepreneurship Week for the second time on your event, because we partnered also last year. The Global Entrepreneurship Week is an international initiative which belongs to the Global Entrepreneurship Network. And it is happening right now at this moment in 180 other countries in the world, as we are part of the 10,000 partners that are organizing over 20,000 events with the overall scope of 10 million people participating in such events. The goal of this initiative is to promote, praise, and celebrate entrepreneurship. There are four main global topics that are discussed during the Global Entrepreneurship Week right now. And one of them is how to gain entrepreneurial skills within formal and informal education. Another aspect is how can the civic society and other aspects partner with the government into forming quality partnerships and good policy making. And this is exactly the theme that Startup Macedonia addressed in this Global Entrepreneurship Week. Then it is social entrepreneurship in terms of female and social and inclusive entrepreneurship. And last but not least is the cooperation of the ecosystem to enable entrepreneurs scale their businesses. And this event that you're organizing is actually matching in this GEW ecosystems topic. So I would like to address that the Startup Macedonia as the host really had hard mission when we inherited the initiative, just like Michael said, who is our great supporter from year one or day one, with only one event turning into 44 events now and making this one of the most popular initiatives in the ecosystem. Startup Macedonia is a partner to everyone in the ecosystem, helping the startups to scale, to make connections. There is also a digital platform that Startup Macedonia has developed, where startups and other institutions can register in order to find what the ecosystem is offering. So I will post the link to it afterwards. But in regards to this event today, I would like to congratulate you all for finding the time to participate in such kind of initiative, to support such kind of initiative, and especially congratulations to our hosts today, Innovate and Business Accelerator UKIM, for joining this second year in a row and for organizing such kind of panel. I hope that we will have great fun today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simona. I would now like to have the panelists give brief introductions. I'd like to start with Vladimir, who is at UKIM and also the managing director of INNOFEIT. And Vladimir, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction. First of all, I'm really glad to be here. So I would like to express my gratitude to Startup Macedonia for inviting me and my institution to be part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week again this year. Too bad that we are not face-to-face somewhere in Skopje at the moment, but it is what it is. My name is Vladimir Atanasovsky. I am a professor at the Institute of Telecommunications in the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Information Technologies, and I'm currently serving both as a Vice Dean for Finances at the faculty and Managing Director of the Center for Technology Transfer Innovations, INNOFEIT. As we are starting with the discussion now, I think it would be important that we would raise a lot of things that are really important for the innovation ecosystem in the country. And what we are trying to do per se is to actually fit as much as good as possible within this innovation ecosystem. So we are a center for technology transfer, but we're not a classical legal department. Let's say we are mostly oriented towards technology to transfer, basically. So it's we are like something like a TTT office type of institution, where we are trying to serve as a hub for our faculty and our university, because we are open for all faculties from the university, where we are trying to see if some of the R&D results, as Michael said, can be actually commercialized, or to put it more into perspective, to see how we can burn not money into equations, but vice versa, equations to something that is tangible and something that can actually make money out of it. So we're mostly focused on providing opportunity for our students and for our industrial partners to test different ideas and to showcase proof of concepts and laboratory prototypes that can be then taken by other entities in the innovation ecosystem, that can be funded or guided through different channels towards the final product. I think we will have more time to discuss further on. I will not take too much time at this moment for the introduction. Thank you.
Thanks, Vladimir. And now I'd like Tony, if you could introduce yourself and brief perspective on the panel today.
Hello, everybody. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Hello to everybody. This is a very big and huge event, let's say like this, as Simona told us. And I'm glad that I'm in fourth time in Global Entrepreneurship Week all over the world. I'm in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Central Asia, Russia, Bulgaria, with you, of course, and in Israel. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce our academic institution to you. Many of our friends in Macedonia know me, and thank you for invitation, of course. I'm 4 years working with our Macedonian friends in areas of innovation and startups, because we have a huge project in Bitula, in our old cemetery, where Jewish cemetery, we are building the database and maintaining the database of the tombs. And we have many projects, innovative projects, and we exchange delegations on these projects, of course, lectures, etc. And as we speak about industry and academy cooperation, in Holland Institute of Technology, I'm serving as international cooperation and innovation support person in President Office. And we work together in closed cooperation with our International Entrepreneurship Office also. I worked 20 years in Israel Innovation Authority as a scouter and BI intelligent system specialist and knowledge management. And I want to mention something very unusual. The situation we are in, it's unusual for all of us. And we have new opportunities in front of us. And the big time for us is that we recently understood that vector of economic vector and biological vector are long crossed in a world. And we have a big time to open our mind and to think more efficiently, and to start to build our connections more closely, because this is the time for entrepreneurship, of course. We have a lot of new startups in Israel, a lot of new ideas in area of COVID, and to spend the problems. And for telemedicine, in our institute, we opened the new and unique faculty of digital medicine and technologies for medicine, where we want to cooperate, of course, with UKIM and INNOFEIT, because we have the opportunities to, after the bachelor on technologies in medicine, to develop or to jump to the second stage, to be doctors of medicine. You have this faculty in your university. But what is the unique in our institute? It's academic institution, 6 faculties. We have design faculty, we have engineering, programming, nanotechnology, name it. But the interesting is that it's absolutely applied learning. What I mean, in the first course, in the first semester, in the first course, students starting to prepare their projects independent of the needs to industry, because I connect them to the industry needs and they start to work together. In the end of the first year, most of our students cross the border and being and start to work in those firms. And the second opportunity for them is that they have a very good and very big portfolio for 3 years. They have most of projects with concrete details in concrete codes and programming and designing. And all of them work in the same projects from many point of views. What I mean, it's we have industry designer in each project today. We need the guiding the projects in the high tech, not only in the high tech, everywhere. And we have this faculty also. And we have engineers, as I told, and all aspects of the projects that are needable today. This strong applied approach is very good for the students, and for us it's a win-win situation for industry and for students as well. And we believe we have also accelerator with the very interesting internal and external modules. And of course, we the most that's interesting, we believe in the multidisciplinarity approach, horizontal aspects of the projects, oriented and with and for industry needs, and to solve government and social aspects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. North Macedonia is very lucky to have your institute in Israel as a very strong partner and backer in many areas, which I know is greatly appreciated and means a lot. I'd now like to turn to Matea, please.
Hello, my name is Matea Lauric. I'm the managing director of Collector Ventures. This is a corporate VC fund. We were founded in Slovenia, so I was in Macedonia. I think that last year, it seems so long time ago regarding the current situation. Our VC fund invests into industrial startups or startups that have high-tech solutions that can be applied in industrial environment. We were founded by multinational Slovenian company, Collector. I must say that we are, I would say, a strong manufacturing company, which is trying to become more of a tech company. But the challenge that we had a couple of years ago when we started with those activities, with investments into startups and with an open innovation model, was that we have the domain knowledge, but we didn't have, I would say, competences on the field of high-tech technologies. Yeah. So basically, we are one of the rare, I would say, companies within the region that tried to implement open innovation model from theory into practice. So basically, I'm driven by change. Entire career at Collector, I have been, I would say, developing things from scratch. So I know the innovation process. I have been engaged in innovation all the time. And I think that today's panel is for me inspiring because we have similar discussions in Slovenia. And I'm glad to be a part of the discussion in Macedonia. So I expect to learn something also from Macedonia, from Macedonian innovation environment.
Thank you very much. Georgi, you're up.
Yeah, Thank you. So, hello everyone. First, I would like to thank for the invitation for this panel. It's really a big honor to be a part of this panel and to discuss on these topics. And probably I'm the only one, the only person that comes from the real sector, but also somehow relates to the university, with the university, and have some kind of university background. So I would like to introduce first myself and to give some of my thoughts about this discussion. So I'm Georgi Majarov. Currently, I'm a co-founder and CEO of startup company Elevate Global that relates to an autonomous time series forecasting solutions that reduces the time and effort in modeling and forecasting energy parameters. And currently an associate professor at the Faculty of Computer Science and Engineering. So I'm not an entrepreneur, I would like to say. I'm just a technical guy that somehow try to implement and make the real product about something that is going on in the research phase, something that would like to make some innovative thing that will change something in the future. So basically, what we are doing is not only me, of course. Behind me is the whole team of Elevate Global, that practicing some new methodologies, new approaches, basically in making some new innovation that will become to the market really soon and make some changes to how we optimize the energy resources on the other side. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Speaking of optimizing energy, I'm speaking to you from, I wish I could be in North Macedonia in person, but I'm speaking from Southern California, where I'm powered 100% by the sun. We recently installed solar panels, which became operational, and I just signed a contract to install battery backup. So I'm trying to learn about renewable energy by doing as well. And that's, I think we all know that climate change and optimizing our use of energy, moving to renewable energy, as well as many other things relating to food and distribution, and all those things are going to become increasingly critical. They're already critical, but more so. I appreciate everybody being so concise and brief, so that we're very much on time. Just briefly, I've been introduced, but I'd like to say that I'm very proud to say that our company was founded in 1991, and we became an active in then Macedonia, now North Macedonia, on September 9th, 1995. Where we started the Macedonia Business Resource Center. Then in 2003, the SME Finance Fund to help finance small medium enterprises, which is now Crimson Development Foundation, which is a partner with the Business Accelerator. And we were also involved in the privatization of the electricity distribution and supply part of Elektrostopanstva. So we've been very active in North Macedonia, working with many organizations and businesses, and we're very proud to be a partner with Business Accelerator UKIM, and we look forward to receiving applications from startups and early stage companies and entrepreneurs and teams for our next round to see where we can invest and help these companies grow. In order to stay on time, I would like to now go into our discussion. We have some specific discussion points, and I will raise them and ask various panelists to speak about them. However, this panel is a democracy in the sense that I expect that my role is only as facilitator, and the panelists with the expertise will actually decide what we talk about. And so if I ask the wrong question, the panelists are free to raise the question that's more appropriate. And if I call on certain panelists to discuss a point, that does not mean that the other panelists shouldn't contribute where necessary. At the end of the discussion, we will have a question and answer session where, please, if you have questions, submit them through the Zoom question and answer part, and we will try to get as many questions as possible, and also anything we missed in the discussion, also cover it at that time. To start, I think it would be good for us, we talked about tech transfer, we talked about research and making into products and services. So the first major area is, what are the practices and methods for universities and startups and corporations to collaborate? Some years ago, we were asked to advise a government in Africa to create their competitiveness strategy. And we came up with a slogan at the time called "Cooperate to Compete." Meaning, in a given sector, like in this case, the coffee sector, the coffee grower sector, each of the major coffee growers and coffee traders were competitors. But there were certain things, certain issues that they have in common. And so if they talk about them and work together and develop the ecosystem, there are actually things they can work together on and help them all become more competitive, even though there's still going to be things that are trade secrets and strategies specific for them. So I'd like to start by talking about, why is technology transfer important, and how can we promote it? And I would like to ask Vladimir to kick it off.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. You're saying that cooperate to compete reminds me of some other thing that I was involved a couple of years ago when I was doing my PhD in wireless communications and cooperative communications. There was a saying that the real selfish behavior is to cooperate. So there is always something to benefit from being cooperative and for providing support to each other. But first of all, I think that the entire, as I witness here in the country, the entire innovation ecosystem it's made of many complex actors, entities, stakeholders, and so on. So everybody has its own specific role, and everybody should operate at some optimal level so that everybody is actually gaining benefit out of it. So you cannot actually force things, or you cannot actually make things or make roles to entities that are not actually natural to do it, let's say. So from our perspective, from a university perspective, what we find as a technical faculty important is that we provide our students, first of all, a platform to boost their market competitiveness afterwards. So we need them to become more problem-oriented, and we want to promote so-called problem-based learning in our curricula, so that students are actually dealing with real-world problems, and they're not just solving some artificial examples that have no actual practice afterwards. So first of all, I think it's important that the mind shift of the education is oriented towards more practical and problem-based learning. And then we come to the point of technology transfer and why is it so? Why it is important? From our modest experience in a couple of years operating, we feel that there are many ideas at the university that can actually be commercialized, and they can actually be profitable in the end if you allow them to be, so to say. The important thing is that the operation in the universities and in the academic environment are much are more have more freedom, let's say, than from strict corporates. So there is definitely an opportunity to investigate, to research, to develop, to design, and to actually prototype and test certain solutions. But there are many in-between steps so that a real technology transfer can happen in a society or in a specific innovation ecosystem. Your question was, why is it so important? It is important because in the end, it can actually open jobs, it can stimulate people. For us, what we see is that it's important because it can provide an interesting and challenging environment for young people to work on, because we're facing a huge brain drain problem here. So talking to many students, most of them say that they would like to work on interesting and innovative projects, challenging projects where they can actually prove themselves. So what we're trying to do is to somehow make the environment for that happening. Basically, you cannot stop people for going abroad and so on, but you should at least try to make environment for them to operate in. So I think that many other stakeholders are also important in the entire chain, because our role would be to somehow boost this cooperation between the academia and the industry, so that we don't derive problems to solutions to non-existing problems in our diploma thesis, master thesis, and projects and so on, and that we actually work on real-world problems that can be beneficial to somebody. Then it comes to who will actually fund this type of research. So I think that it's also an aspect that should be addressed both by the country and by the private sector, so that they're actually they would be getting a very let's say cheap R&D within the university environment, or at least cheaper than doing it within their own companies. So I think that if we start cooperating more and start understanding each other's needs and benefits out of the cooperation, I think that we can really kickstart the process of tech transfer. I think it's going now, but it's, in my opinion, it's slowly going. It's we're always hoping for the snowball effect. But I think that this Corona crisis actually stopped the ball from rolling a bit. So hopefully it will catch up soon.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. Tony, Israel and your institution, of course, are leaders in R&D and commercialization. And in many ways, the triple helix cooperation between academia, business, and government. So if you could give your perspective on why technology transfer is so important, and also what are the ways to enhance it in countries like North Macedonia, would be very helpful.
Yes, first of all, I want to mention some very, very important. We have, first of all, ecosystem, and this ecosystem is based on strong government regulation. The first of all, even in a macroeconomic level, even in a microeconomic level through the municipalities. It's first of all. The second is that our industry are sure that the universities are the key agents of economic and social progress. Why I'm speaking about it? Because in university we have 3 points of study. We have traditional university focused. We have traditional university research, basic research. But from the beginning of the era of internet, we start the biggest research in an applied approach. And last and not least is the transfer of knowledge, of course. And based on these three pillars, I want to assume that in Israel, 18% of the basic and applied research starting from universities. And from this situation, as I mentioned before, we have the win-win situation. From the other side, the firms and startups have access to the infrastructure of universities, have laboratories, we have very modern equipment. They need our equipment, and it's more efficiency for them because they don't need to open their own laboratories, of course. We have scientific parks, accelerators, offices, co-working universities, spaces, and everything is open in one ecosystem with good communication. The second is in the networking. The networking is the most important. Even COVID don't kill our networking relations. And the third is access to funding opportunities. It's very, very important because before we starting our project, we need to ask ourselves some questions like, who are you serving with your startup idea? What are you offering? How we are able to clear your idea and to develop it? And in context of this, I think the one of the aspects of the accelerator here is very important because in accelerator we can start to prepare our skills, our startup skills. And of course, it must be starting with preparing of our business plan. And if our business plan is according to the questions like how the business will be vested in main objectives and mission statement and key to success, industry analysis, core strategy, marketing plans, management, organization structure, etc., finance needs, and all of these convert to the key pages of our business plan that will be established on executive summary, company description, products, etc. Very, very strong, organized business plan. After all of this, we can start to manage and to collaborate with the firms and to start to listen for funding opportunities, of course. And in this case, we have our accelerators, joint ventures capitals, angels, and friends like you, Michael, and like your company that are interested in our projects. And the main issue here in our universities is the IP and our IP regulation. I want to explain you that in Israel, each university has his own IP regulation. We don't know what is this. It depends on the agreement between us from one point of view. In the second point of view is regulated by university. And what is interesting here is that this university is now not this university like we know it. This is some corporation, let's say, because we have here many aspects with strong economic and entrepreneurship and innovative view, and we need to solve many problems. And as you speak from where to start, I know the economic regulation in Macedonia, and I know that it's not connected good between the startup community firms, established firms with a good position, and in the third side of those triangle is of course government. And maybe these ties It's time to collaborate more stronger, because we have very, very good projects and connections may be established between municipality and university. And you need to try to find this level of cooperation. And the other side, you need to find those projects, those ideas, and those needs that have your good established firms, because you have very, very good firms and they do very good job, and you are still number 5 in Europe as startup nation. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Tony. Both Vladimir and Tony have also covered started to cover some of the subjects that were next on the list. And of course, one of those, and I noticed we already received a question which we'll deal with in the Q&A, but maybe also cover some of it now, which is, what stage does a startup have to be, before it can raise money? And that's quite a complex question, because there's all different kinds of stages of funding, and we'll try and get into that as well. But at the moment, we're sort of really talking about research, and we're talking about technology transfer and commercialization. And Matea, because of course, Collector is very big on R&D. I'd really like to hear your perspective on how important is it for corporations or businesses to finance and invest in R&D, and your perspective on doing that internally within, say, for a corporation or a company to do it within their own organization, or also to look to partner with universities or maybe startups or early stage companies, rather than trying to do it all by yourself. But funding is obviously very important. And how do you see that, and how have you folks pursued that from a point of view of financing R&D and technology transfer?
Thank you, Michael. Well, basically, I think that times have changed because no matter how big the company or the corporation is, you cannot develop everything by yourself. So connecting with academia, with other companies, even competitors, not just other companies who are partners, for example, or suppliers and so on, and even with high-tech startups, is crucial for, I would say, maintaining competitive position, if not even exceeding the competitiveness. Yeah. So basically, our company has been connecting itself with, I would say, universities and research institutes for the last, I would say, 25 years. And we basically have a strong internal R&D, but this is not enough, because I think that's in these times, it's not just the question of money or financing. I think that it's more, I would say, a question of time, because time is more expensive than money lately. So basically, companies do engage in cooperation regarding the development with other partners, because they don't have enough time to build everything from scratch internally. This is the fact. We have, I would say, examples in the United States, which are not really applicable to European circumstances. For example, Silicon Valley, where big IT companies, university like Stanford, for example, and I would say startup ecosystem really do or they make a difference. For example, another example is also Boston area with MIT, big IT companies, and also with startups. Yeah. Well, European, I would say, landscape for innovation and connectivity between different partners is a bit different, because we have public funds. And my strong opinion is that because basic research, for example, which is incorporated in research institutes, in faculties, is of public interest. Yeah. So basically, I think that this should be funded by public money. Yeah. Another thing that I agree with what Vladimir said, we have also, I would say, research that solves real issues of real companies, yeah? And this is something that I would say a corporation is willing to pay and also fund because it means that the company will stay competitive. But I think that in Europe, in some cases or in some countries, for example, we have a bit misunderstanding about what a corporation should fund. Basically, I don't think that corporations should fund basic research because there is I would say public money that is intended to I would say to promote this public interest that comes from the basic research. But I think that a lot of corporations, at least in Europe, are willing to fund the applicative research. And I think that Collector is also one of them. At least we have been doing this for the 25 years. And I think that this connection between, I would say, research institutes, faculties, corporations, and even in I would say, in the last decade with, I would say, high-tech companies is crucial to maintain competitive because none of us has the luxury of time because we have to be quick, yeah.
Matea, thank you very much. And I think this raises a very important issue. I think it's an issue globally, but I hear this in North Macedonia all the time. And Vladimir, you raised it, and others have raised it too. It's very important when we talk about the innovation, entrepreneurship, innovation ecosystem. We talk about real life, practical life. And so the key is to not develop solutions in search of a problem. But as has been mentioned, we need to identify what the problems are, what the problems that governments face, what the problems that businesses face, what the problems that individuals face that we can develop solutions to. And if you start from the market need or the problem and develop a product or service to help address that problem, then it's potentially commercializable. It can potentially attract investment. So to get back to the question about startups, it's very important that people who want to, students or professors or people that think they want to be entrepreneurs or have their own business, think about what are the problems out there. And education should focus to a large extent on problem solving and critical thinking to help foster the development of more solutions for society, create more jobs, and also open us up to more possible solutions. Georgi, you come from the university. Now you and your colleagues have a startup business. So from your point of view, you know, what's important relative to how you're doing your R&D and how you're financing it, and are you doing it all now internally, or are you also looking to collaborate with students and faculty and other businesses?
Okay, so thanks for the question. So here are my thoughts about this. So first, like Vladimir, Tony, and Matea said, we need to define a problem. We should recognize a problem that should be addressed by somebody. And if that kind of a problem is replicable in many different areas or many different industries, of course, we have a showcase, real case, where we can address that particular problem and try to solve. And if we solve that problem, we are basically on the track, and that product, that innovation could be commercialized. The real problem that I can see here is the problem generation. So the big corporations usually face a lot of problems in their daily operations. Like, for example, riding trains. So for me, the train is already completed industry. So they have perfect trains now in Western Europe, etc. And I cannot see the problems that they are facing with in the daily operations. But there are some problems that they are facing with. So they need to promote those problems in some kind of competitions, in some kind of cooperations with the universities and faculties and etc., in order to promote and to deliver some kind of knowledge and some kind of vision where they think the world is going. So they need to promote all of those things, not just to say to the students and to the young peoples, look, here is the problems that we are facing with, and we are running for a solution for this kind of problems. But also they need to be part of the solution. So I think that the big corporation should present somehow the problem, and after that cooperate directly with the universities and the young passionate people that would like to spend their time, their research potential, their intelligence, their talent, their courage, in order to investigate something new, something unseen as a solution to that particular problem. But also in that manner, all problems are not representative problems. We need to somehow filter all of those problems. And here the accelerators, the digital hubs, and etc. Have a great potential to do that, because they are familiar with many different problems that are basically problems that could be solved and could solve different things in different industries. So they should somehow filter and give an opportunity to young people to understand whether that particular problem is really a problem that we should take care of and try to solve that problem. So once the problem is identified, on the other hand, we should try to approach that problem. Of course, the big corporations can approach and address that particular problem, but they do not want to risk, then they do not want to spend time on that particular problem, they do not want to make a prototype, they do not want to make a proof of concept if they cannot see on a short term some benefit of it. But of course, this is a challenge for young people, for the faculties, for the researchers. And if they're animated by this kind of problems, they would like to address this problem and to present some kind of a solution that maybe in the future, on a long term, will grow up and solve some important problem and present new innovation. And on the other side, not only the problems. Big corporation can only give some problems to the community and give some problems to the universities, but also visions. What about the visions? What about the breakthroughs? What that will be happen? So that means that some intelligent people have some vision and they try to push that idea to make new innovation, completely new solution to an existing, probably unseen problem to the ordinary people. So those two types of different things should combine somehow and drive the era where young people and education will help to promote high innovations. And in the baseline, at the bottom, the education is here to give the humans ability, some skill and tools to solve some problem. But those problems are existing problems. They get some knowledge to solve existing problems. We should somehow make additional education. We should somehow think of how we are going to educate the people to address new problems, to face with new something unseen, before, and how we should approach that problem, how we should address that problem, how to be analytical on that problem, how to make right decision in order to solve that problem, in order to promote an innovation out of that particular problem. So I think that basically the whole community should be part of this. First, the big corporation, and the other thing, the education, the universities on the other side, where we should say about the universities that there should be worked some people that are highly they should be highly motivated, they should be talented, they should be innovative, they should be intelligent, in order to be able to address these new challenges, and to present some innovative solutions to those challenges. And on the other side, the accelerators, hubs, that will make this connection right, so they can recognize all this potential, first on the solution of the particular problem, and on the problem that exists actually, and promote that as a new innovation, as a new product that should be somehow commercialized, that after this period should be helped that process by the big corporation probably. But in the beginning, I think that the public funding, also funds that are funded by big corporation, could be part of this process.
Thank you very much. A number of issues have been raised, and I'm hoping there are entrepreneurs or people who think they might want to be entrepreneurs, or existing startups or early stage companies that are listening or will listen to the recording, because our panelists are giving very strong tips as to what you need to do to move forward to become a successful, viable business. And I think that's very important. From I think one of the things that's been very clear is if you want to get investment and want to sell a product or service, your product or service has to solve a problem or meet a need. Jorge, you've raised a good point. There's some problems we don't fully know about yet, or maybe not know at all. And how do we find out what those are, what the coming problems are going to be? And I think that gets to, for entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs, the key is you've got an idea, you've got a certain expertise, and you think there might be some way you can contribute. It's very important to do research, find out talk to potential customers or corporations or businesses or investors, and find out what things are being addressed and what aren't. Try to figure out what the gaps are. And by understanding the market, you can sometimes identify a problem that hasn't yet been fully identified. And then if you can work on that, I think you have a big advantage. And you should really, if you have a certain idea for a product or service, you should really do your research to see who else is doing something that's similar. A lot of entrepreneurs will come up with an idea, it's a great idea for product or service, and they think they're the only ones doing it, or it's limited competition. That's often not the case. And just because there's competition isn't necessarily bad. For example, many years ago in Los Angeles, there was a small restaurant on a corner that was complaining because McDonald's was going to open on the corner opposite to them. And I said, that's great news. Now suddenly you're going to have huge amount of traffic coming to your corner. And not everybody is going to want McDonald's all the time. So what can you offer that will take advantage of that traffic? And it turns out they were very, very successful. The issue of filtering came up because there are many ideas, there are many potential solutions to the myriad of problems. And I think the role of mentors, accelerators, innovation centers is to help the people with the ideas or the solutions to filter those ideas that ultimately have commercial potential. Because as we've discussed, there's a difference between basic research or theoretical research and applied research to create a product or service. And I think those of us that are in the ecosystem as either mentors or investors or facilitators often do entrepreneurs a disservice if we don't help provide some of the filtering, some guidance. People come up with ideas. A first idea may or may not be commercial, have commercial potential. Help guide the person to determine if it solves a problem and has commercial potential. And if it doesn't, it doesn't mean that person's not an entrepreneur. They need to find the next idea. So it's an iterative process, and I think our audience is getting some valuable lessons. In North Macedonia, the government decided through the fund to create the Fund for Innovation and Development, and through the fund has funded 3 accelerators in different parts of the country. And Business Accelerator UCM is one of them. And our mandate is to find the ideas, the entrepreneurs that have something that can solve a problem and provide mentoring and in some cases financing or investment to help them become a viable, successful business. And that's what our role is. And also to help people with ideas filter to try and hone in on something that has commercial potential. Tony, I'd like to ask you, because with Israel's Innovation Authority and being involved with the Office of the Chief Scientist, Israel has, as you pointed out, many accelerators, hubs, co-working spaces, and everything else. And if you could describe, not so much go into more detail about what Israel's doing, but what countries should look for in terms of these types of programs or schemes that can help support new ideas, innovation, new products and services, and help bring the parts of the ecosystem together based on your experience. I think that would be invaluable to our audience. Tony, do we still have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Thank you. Yes, as you mentioned, we have 45 research and development cooperation centers with Amazon, name it Apple. This is the very big ecosystem. It's raising 30 years. I'm here from 30 years and 20 years work there, and I'm very happy that it was my pleasure to be part of it. It's unique. And you said something very, very important. You speak about the uniqueness of the idea. If the idea is not so unique, all the market will drive our profits down to zero. It's first of all, and in this hard competition that we have today, this is the main issue, to check our idea, to check the possibility to commercialize this idea. And I think from this point of view, universities is the big provider with ideas, because the students are so clever, so open. They have those engagement to think about regulations and macro and micro economy, etc. And they are very open minded. For example, our students in multidisciplinary track prepare something new for the people now that are lonely at home, old people, elderly, that the big problem is loneliness for them. how then can teach them through avatar to use media, digital media. Those are so old people that have no any skills in information technologies, and those avatars speak with them and give them appeals, and with very interesting boxes with chips inside. We know about this if they gave the pills in the same hour, if they have a blood pressure, not blood pressure, what's going on. They feel good, they don't feel good, etc. We have so many ideas through our students that go straight to the industry, because we have those connections with industry, and we know how to deliver the ideas straight to the right firm in the right place. This is one of the ways that we spoke about yet. And about the Innovation Authority, of course, this is a big provider. 4.5% of value-added tax going to the research and development, straight to the authority. And in the end of the year, the part of the budgets of each ministry, if they don't assume them, they go also to the research and development through the Innovation Authority. And regulation there is very, very important, because we have also very big track that encourage universities and industry cooperation. In this track, cooperation propose their ideas, what they need, and they find through the track our opportunities, and we match each other through this platform. Of course, also we have a very good sponsorship through the Google, Amazon, and other platforms, of course, and open campuses. And one of the biggest program and opportunity also for us and for Macedonia is European Research Program. Of course, it's a big, big opportunity. And you mentioned about the green deals today, the environmental deals. The program now, Horizon 2020, is in the end, but they open new and unique approach for all of us, Green Deal call, with 13 new calls with big budget. And this is very good opportunity, do it. And we don't know what will happen with the budget of all of us in the next year, but now we have this opportunity of a Green Deal, and SME instrument, of course, is a part of it. And we have many more opportunities, but I think for Macedonia, it's first of all the European Research Program, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. One of the things that you did mention was a question relating to policies and regulation, of course, which is a factor. Vladimir, I'd like to get your perspective from your various roles in working with the university and also with industry. Where do you see that North Macedonia might be able to make improvements in policies or regulations to facilitate both the cooperation between these various parties, but also to accelerate the ability of moving, ideas through the stage ultimately to commercial products?
Yeah, right. I think that basically we would need a thorough restructuring of the entire policy model here, because what we do have is something that is put on paper. It's not really operational, and it's not something that is actually, let's say, driving innovations. But before we come to that, I would like to comment a bit on something that the previous speakers said. The thing is that even though different ecosystems are different, we definitely can see a pattern here. The pattern would be that you need two basic things for a successful innovation ecosystem. You would need a solid research foundation, and then you would need access to capital, basically venture capitals and so on. But having the solid research, I will not dwell into details whether it should be publicly funded or privately funded. There are different models. We do get a lot of public funds, but we don't get sufficient funds from the national government, let's say. So as Tony said, the European programs are definitely an opportunity, but it's very competitive, and it's not something that comes on a regular basis if you want to build a national ecosystem where you would rely on research money coming from somewhere abroad. So you would definitely need to have some local funds here. And then when you boost this research potential and you somehow change the mindset of the people at the university to think about innovations and to start promoting problems and problem-based curricula, then we come to the policing part. And I think that everybody is kind of neglecting it here, because we don't still have a unicorn. You know, when George's company becomes a unicorn, then a lot of people will start thinking about the policy and whether he's employed at a university or not, and something like that. So I would like to have prior to establishing unicorns, a really clear policy. So it's something that we somehow have in paper, but I think it's rather vague, and it's not very very clear. What I would like as an engineer to see is a very simple model. I mean, the X percentage goes to the university, epsilon percentage goes to the faculty, and Z percentage goes to the company, or whatever. But something that can be written in 3 bullets, not something that should be written in 7 laws, and then nobody actually understands it. So of course, if it's privately funded, then there are some different things. But when it's publicly funded, I mean, we're talking about a public university that is trying to deal with the benefit of the society. So the problems that we would be working on should be problems that are actually advancing the society and are benefiting the society. So in a way, we're giving it back. And because of that, we would have to have some clear policing that should be fair for everybody involved. But I think personally, I think that it's not, people are not raising it that much, because it's still a very, these are still baby steps in the ecosystem here. So I think that we would really need to have more strong examples of successful startups that are actually coming from the university, or that are exploiting university research that is then becoming a commercial business that is actually really profitable business. So then people will start thinking about, okay, wait, we would need to have some policy in place. We're also trying to work on some of these policy models within INNOFEIT. We do have several templates developed and so on, but the thing is that it really depends on where you do get your money. If a private company comes and say, okay, I want to do a contract research with you and all the IP belongs to me, you have a choice. You either say, no, I don't want to work like that, or yes, I do want to work like that, and make some problem in just because we feel that afterwards we can actually become partners and develop new things. It's good to start a cooperation with somebody, but we don't have sufficient, let's say, public funding from the state where we would develop sufficient research results that can be commercialized, and then rules that will govern these research results into actually commercial business. So yeah, it is very important, and I think that people should really start thinking about it. I'm constantly talking about it, but I hope that it will become more important in the following in the near future.
Vladimir, thank you very much. Back in the days when I was university based, running the Medical Research Institute at the University of California, I had become very frustrated. You know, we were managing our research programs, and we had our bachelor's, master's, and PhD students, and publishing papers and all those kind of things. And I became frustrated of how much research funding there was through the state, the university, the federal government, the NIH, NSF, et cetera, huge amount of research, massive amount of funding for research, many papers being published, many conferences, and very little percentage of that actually went out and benefited the society, either medically or successful business that created jobs or other things, was very small. And so I went on a little bit of a mission to try and identify areas where the research had the commercial potential to actually help society or people or business. And I had to learn what the University of California system was and what the policies and regulations were, and how revenue sharing on licensing or the policies for spinning off of companies, all those things were. And I actually found out it was quite clear. It was really quite clear. Of course, there can be exceptions and you have to figure it out. But so I started working with students and professors, and if they had an idea of figuring out the way to take it in the private sector, one way or another, through licensing, through joint venture, to startup, to whatever it was. And because those policies and procedures were fairly clear, but nobody knew about it, of course. So very few people took advantage of it. But once we started actually testing it and putting real things through the system, we found that framework was very beneficial. And I can see where that needs to be done in North Macedonia as well as other countries. I think we do need more research funding. If you look at the percentage of research funding by most metrics, GDP or various other things, in Western Balkan countries, it's low. And if we want to create unicorns, we have to finance research and development to lead to products and services which can become successful in the market. Matea, Collector, you folks have a lot of experiences with this. Slovenia has experience with this. How do you see it from your experience and perspective in terms of the legal and policy and regulatory framework to foster innovation, tech transfer, and the like?
Michael, actually, I was listening to you now, and I share the same opinion. I have the similar experience. There are actually procedures on place. They are very clear. They are not complicated. But I think that the main reason, I would say, that not so many research projects are commercialized is basically because, I don't know, I think that at least I can talk for Slovenia, not a lot of companies have positive experience with those research, but it basically goes because we are not, or even companies together with, I would say, academia are not able to define the real problem they are solving. Yeah. So if you are with if you are financing a research that actually doesn't solve a real problem, sometimes even I don't know, in Slovenia, sometimes even we do research together with I would say or academia, because it's publicly funded with European Union funds. Yeah. Because it is possible to get money. It is good to have a research because we benefit on both sides, because researchers in, for example, institute or faculties or universities do get an access to, I would say, real life playground. And of course, companies are interested to get some new knowledge. But I think that we need a step further. We need to commercialize, I would say, the results of this research or common research that we both perform. I think that some companies, even for example in Slovenia, were not so open to I would say to be engaged in the development of some crucial, I would say, product solutions and so on, because we were really closed because of the I would say trade secrets. Yeah. I think that times are changing, that we are also opening our doors, corporations, to this kind of, I would say, cooperation on the innovation field. But I think that Collector is one of the companies who has opened the doors also to startups. I'm not just mentioning the research institutes, for example, but also the startup community, because you have to be bold enough to let yourself to cooperate with, I would say, partner who is not always reliable. Yeah, because startups have, I would say, the statistic is that 1 out of 10 survives. Yeah, and companies, corporations, they want stability, they want reliable partners, and so on. And you have to take this risk into account in order to at least give the opportunity to create something that is really beneficial for the company, or even for a startup, or even other development partner. I think that it's not a problem in contracts or in business cooperation or research cooperation. I think that it's more of a problem that even companies sometimes, or corporations sometimes, are not able to commercialize the results of the research. Yeah, because I think that if, for example, if the faculty, if I don't know, Vladimir, you are heading one of the department on the faculty, for example, if you would do, I don't know, a kind of research project with a corporation, I think that the corporation would basically be in charge of commercialization, I guess, not at the faculty, because this is not your core competence. Yeah. And I think that even companies cannot push sometimes the results of the research on the market. I think that this is the biggest problem, not the I would say legal environment or so on for that kind of cooperation. You can also make a comment, for example, Vladimir, because you have experience in North Macedonia.
Yeah, you know,
Sorry,
because,
Michael, I took over.
No, I told you this is a democracy.
yeah.
I'm just the factotum here. So
Mateo, you're totally right. I mean, if it's a contract research with a company, then it's most likely that the company will dictate the rules. So then it's a way of obtaining R&D, outsourced R&D, let's say. I would not like to say cheaper. It sounds cheap, you know, but it's outsourced R&D because the company does not have a dedicated R&D department for doing so. But most likely they would like to own the IP because they're basically funding it, and they would like to commercialize it afterwards. Again, it's in our benefit to cooperate with the company, not to say no to that type of cooperation, because it's building relation, it's building foundation for future cooperation, for promoting future I don't know, in the end, we would like to have the private money funding research at the university. That would be the real model, not just attracting public funds. So if this is a way of giving incentives to companies that they can actually cooperate with the university and show them that we are able to deliver innovations towards potential commercialization, then we are open to doing it. But you're right, in most cases, the company will dictate the rules in this case.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and it makes me think of, again, going back to University of California. One of the things we did was develop cooperation with certain key corporates. One of them was with Intel. And I'll be dating myself because when Intel came up with the first parallel processing supercomputer that was made not of high-tech chips, but simple chips from PCs with 64, 128, etc. chips, we were able to get Intel to donate model number 2 to the university to set up a supercomputing lab. Now, that was a donation. And what did Intel get out of it? Intel supported the supercomputer center, not only with the supercomputer, which of course had a lot of value, but with access to expertise and mentoring and things like that, which was very valuable to our bachelor's, master's, and PhD students who had access to not only this, but to scientists at Intel. What did Intel get out of it? They had a close relations, not only with our medical engineering institute, but with the other faculty in engineering and in the sciences and in the medical center. As students worked or professors worked and was exploring ideas, they could inform Intel about them, and a number of projects developed that ended up being funded by Intel, and a number of students, when they graduated, ended up starting their careers at Intel. So it was a very long-term relationship. Based on that, we did a similar thing with Texas Instruments, who donated a signal processing lab, which again was open for the entire university, and Texas Instruments had better access on a day-to-day basis to some of the great ideas that both the students and faculty were coming up with. Tony, I'd like to, on this subject, ask you from the point of view of, again, the extensive experience in Israel. We've only touched a little bit on the question of intellectual property, but I know there's a lot of debate these days because research and technology and the product cycle has become so accelerated. The question is it better to work fast, come to market fast, and then continue to innovate, as opposed to relying on protection by patents or other intellectual property, especially for new innovators and new entrepreneurs? That comes up a lot. You know, oh, do we need to patent it? Or, yeah, we have this great idea, Mike, and we'd love you to fund us, but you know, we can't tell you about it. You know, so how do you, Tony, see being able to address that with things changing so fast? You know, how can entrepreneurs and innovators be able to talk about their product or service idea? Because if they don't get funding, they don't find customers, etc. You know, versus the question of getting intellectual property protection.
Yes, we speak a lot about it, and this is the main issue, I think, today. The most important is that we don't need to go straight for the patent. The patent is one of the things that we can do. We have trademarks, we have copywriting, we have know-how, we have many other possibilities that will give us opportunity to be more faster, because in this era of competition and the big so fast and so big growth and race, we have no choice. We cannot wait for the patent. The patent is a slowly project, and we have no time for this. For example, if you have some statistics about it, when we start our business plan, we need maximum 3 months to prepare it. It's most efficient way. And if we wait for a patent, we have no those possibilities. And what we can to do? We can focus on agreement, focused on PR, public relation possibilities to check our strong market skills. And if we speak about the case studies, as you mentioned, Intel, for example, one of the biggest exits in Israel is our firm Mellanox, worldwide firm, well known, and they start their way from 5 projects in a European program. Those 5 projects in European research program, very small firm. It was 2004. It's not so passed away. And those 5 projects were established, but how they do it? They do it with the university parallel person in applying project. And from this point of view, they are very revolutionary. Why? Because from these times in Israel, in each company, we have academic manager that is involved to connect to the universities. In opposite way, what we have in universities, we have a manager that needs to connect the university to the high tech. And as we come back to your question, they establish agreement and they don't need to wait for the patent. In high tech, the patents are more not so efficiency. Most of them are working on know-how and trademarks and copywriting, etc. You know, and this is maybe the right way and the fastest way.
Tony, thank you very much, because I think that adds a very important perspective. I think especially for countries like North Macedonia, who are really emerging, and the trade-offs become concerns, and it helps to have your perspective and that of Israel's. That it's really, I think it's important that for innovation in these days, if an entrepreneur or student or professor or business, has a new idea for a product or service, the key thing I think is to move fast. In this day and age, I think speed is important, and we've all heard at this point the saying "fail fast."
And don't be afraid to fail fast. Also.
And don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to fail fast. In fact, welcome failing fast, because as was mentioned by our panels, time actually costs more money than money. So, which is a very good point. And I think that we had one quick example in the Innovation Center, Kosovo. In one of the calls, we had a person submit an application for support to come into the incubator for her idea. And some of the people on the panel said, "Oh yes, let's let her in for 2 years." And I shocked everybody and I said, "No, let's give her 30 days. And they were like, "Oh, what can you do in 30 days?" I said, what she can do in 30 days is go out and talk to 10 potential customers who would pay her for what she's doing, if what she's doing turns out to be everything she says it is. Okay. And anyway, we finally agreed. And in 7 days, she came and said, "Michael, thank you so much. I've tried doing that. And I realize I would rather work for a company or an organization, have a job, than have to do all this myself." It's not a question of it's good or bad. It's a question of what's right for the person. But instead of screwing around for 2 years, because of that focus, she was able to realize in 7 days that's not what she wanted to do, and she's gone on and been very successful without being an entrepreneur. So I think helping people, especially young people, answer the question for themselves, but help them do that is very important. I don't want to miss our interactive question and answer session. It's very important. And these things, there's so many things we could talk for quite a while. But the one thing I think I want to get to before we go into the Q&A is the whole question of skills and skills gaps relative to, the brain drain was talked about. That's happening. And some of you may have heard that there's also a drain from Silicon Valley, and that's a whole complicated subject. But the world is changing, and not only technology is changing, but work is changing. Jobs are changing. COVID has turned employment, I think, upside down. But the question from the point of view of our panel, and we have people that can absolutely address that, is, and Vladimir, I'd like you to just start. how do we help young people, both within and without at the university, identify the skills or expertise they're going to need and get that if in fact they want to be innovators and entrepreneurs and ultimately run businesses.
You got me the toughest question, right?
Of course.
Thank you. It's a complex thing. I mean, I see young people changing throughout these years. I think that the rise of the internet and the social media specifically is changing the way they can actually focus on things. I mean, prior to this whole social media boom, I was able to have a 45 minutes class without a problem. Now they cannot have their own attention for more than 5 minutes because they're accustomed to commenting pictures on Instagram and Facebook and so on. So it's definitely something that is shifting. And what I think is, this is of course a joke. What I think is really important is that you should challenge young people. I think that the entire curricula at the university should be focused on more challenging students rather than just providing them with ex-cathedra lessons where they're actually learning some things, they're solving some exams on paper, and that's it. I mean, you should challenge them with the problems, and they should solve problems through learning. So promote something like there are terms like problem-based learning or challenge-driven university. So I think that at least from the perspective of our Faculty of Electrical Engineering, we do get very solid students. But if you don't challenge them enough, they will find their comfort zone and they will go with something that is really the minimum necessary to pass some exam. So the question is, what do you want to do in the end with the student, basically? So thinking about in terms of entrepreneurs, we as university professors have a product to sell. That's a good engineer. So we want to have this engineer with very solid skills. And in the same time, I think that it's in benefit of the companies that the engineer is as best as possible. So we come again to the beginning of the panel discussion. We need to cooperate so that we can make the actual product more attractive for the market. I think that it's the best way is to challenge them. I mean, it's I think that people will get to go to their comfort zones if you don't challenge them enough, and that is really bringing innovations and the young free spirit down. So need to boost the curricula with things that are problem based and that are challenging young people.
Latimer, thank you very much. It was a tough question, and appreciate your answer. And it is very close to time to go to the Q&A. So again, we could spend a lot of time on all these things, but I would like to give the last word in the discussion to Georgi. You're in the position of running a business now, and to do that, you need people, and you need people with certain skills, and you need certain people with certain drive and motivation. After all, it was mentioned here that people are looking forward to when Elevate Global becomes a unicorn. So I think you're going to need more people to help you achieve that. So Georgi, if you could just, from your point of view, as somebody who is really a technical person, an engineering person, a teacher, who's now gone into the private sector, you face a very real problem of finding and attracting and training staff. So if you could, give a brief outlook from your point of view of how you see that.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we are facing this problem because we are facing many problems in this society. First, brain draining. Second, and the most important one that I think it is instant gratification. So everyone, even the young people especially, want gratification instantly. So they expect something to be performed overnight and to happen overnight. So but that is not happening actually anywhere. So we need to prepare the young people in order to learn. We need to prepare the young people to be passionate, to have courage, and of course to make intelligent steps. So we need to educate them really well, and if we know how to do that, we should make that education available to them. And we should always expect that some people will take another challenge and go away from the company. So we are facing currently basically with this kind of problems. There are two types of people: people that are interested in everything and they want to succeed in all fields, and they're basically people that will perform anything, to learn anything, to try anything in order to be successful, and in order to solve some problem. They will not sleep, they will not eat, just solve the problem. And completely other types of people that I think that this community that number is getting bigger, that are not interested, that are not animated by the whole community, by the people that should promote good things and good society and good communities and good education, etc. So we need to solve basically the first problem that we need to solve is it's the education, and how the young people should develop and raise in the suitable form and in suitable human that will be able to address the problem and take care of the surrounding things and solve and finding a potential solution for the problems, not only for the job and for work, of course, in the everyday life. So the education should also rise. Research and funds that should go directly to education are important thing in order to grow up also the education. And once the professors and all of the people that work on the university are able to promote their ideas, are able to collect different kind of peoples near them in order to address and solve some interesting problems, some innovative solution, they will be able to help a lot in that process. Of course, the competition on the West is basically huge. So every day I can see, and I write a lot of recommendation for many young people that would like to go on the master studies or PhDs on the best universities in Europe and USA. So they actually are able to make that. So because those universities are capable and have a good finance and have a good research work, proven work, of course, they are going there and they are rising in the right persons. So yeah, that is the huge problem that we're facing now.
Georgi, thank you very much. There's of course big debates on whether bright young people going away for universities or jobs in the long run is as bad as it seems. In some cases, those people come back and start businesses in their original country or join businesses and then add a lot of value, but it's obviously a complex project. I want to thank all the panelists. This has been very informative, I think, of course, to the audience. And I appreciate all of you being very concise and to the point, and we're only a couple minutes past our scheduled time for the Q&A, which for those people that know me is absolutely remarkable that we're on time, because I have a tendency to talk too much. But with that, I'll turn it over to Darko for the Q&A.
Thanks, Michael. We actually have two questions. The first one is from Blaža, and you've mentioned, you kind of raised that issue during our discussion. The second question is from Vangel Pustik. And Vangel, your question is not that straightforward. So what we can do is actually, when we cover the first question, I can give you a permission to talk and you can ask it yourself if you would prefer. To do that, please just raise your hand and then I will let you know when you can speak. The question from Blaža has two parts. The first part is, in which stage does a startup become fundable or supportable by a corporate accelerator and venture program? Is it on a seed stage, post-product market fit stage? So Michael, maybe you can mention BAU's investment strategy and in what type of startups we invest in, but also Matea, you can give the perspective of your venture fund. And his second question was, and actually in a clarification to the first question, does the corporate accelerator tend to support just technology or market validated business models? So Matea, maybe you can cover that as well. I mean, are you looking for a specific technology, or you're for a business that's already market validated, that already has a market validated business model?
I'll start, but I'll be brief. For me, Crimson Capital, and I think for Business Accelerator UKIM, the most important thing is that the founders or entrepreneur managers of the business have researched and have a good idea of what the market is, and that their product or service does in fact meet a need in the market, and there are customers out there that are willing to buy it. It can be early stage, it can be pre-sales, it can be prototype level. Primarily, we're looking for something for businesses that are pretty much ready to go to market or have started on the market, but we're willing to look at the full spectrum. But the key for us is, if the founders and entrepreneurs understand the need and understand the market such that they have reasonable expectations that their product or service will in fact sell if it meets the expectations. Thank you.
Okay, as Michael has already said in the beginning, it really depends on the VC fund, in which stage it invests. Collector Ventures, we invest in seed stage and maybe in A round. This means that the startup has to have at least developed MVP, not just an idea. If you go to in the A stage, the startup has to have already realized sales and traction on the market, but it really depends on the VC or the angel and so on, what is the criteria for the investment, yeah? Because Michael explained for the Crimson Capital, Collector Ventures is a bit different, yeah? And I can also give the answer to the second question, whether we engaged in, the second question was already whether we engaged in, Darko, help me. I can also.
Sorry, I'm just unmuted. What are you looking for an investment? Are you looking for a specific technology or more of a market validated business model, or both for that matter?
If we are talking, I would say in terms of investment, it's more important the business model and potential of the market, of course, because technology doesn't help you much if you cannot put it on the market, yeah. But if we are, I would say, talking with a startup about mutual development, for example, or research, we can also talk about, I would say, develop technology, because we can come to, I would say, commercialization during the phase of research or the development. But of course, if we want to invest into a startup, the most important thing is also the market and the business model, of course, not so much the technology, because You can see a lot of startups who have made a pivot. They have changed the product completely. Sometimes they have even upgraded their technology and competences, but the most important thing is market traction.
Thank you, Mateja. Tony, what is your perspective? I mean, Israel is one of the major financial hubs in terms of VC funding, in terms of investing in both early stage companies, but later stage companies, and even to IPOs, etc. So I know there is a lot of different investment strategies of different organizations. Is there one take of what you should do, and is there one general advice that you can give to people when they're trying to raise money, etc.?
The first of all, I want to mention that it's very important what you speak about, to bring the brains back. It's very good. Our students also go and learn the master and PhD abroad, especially in US, especially postdoc, of course, especially in US. They spend there from 1 to 6, 7 years after PhD, and work in Silicon Valley, name it. But they came back. First of all, they came back because they want to their children to learn here, to start here school. It's first of all. The second is that they have connections, and the distance today is not a problem. You see, as we speak today. The second is we have many opportunities for the startups. Doesn't matter in each level of pre-seed or etc. And we have two new ways to listen to all these matters. What I mean, we from reading in university we start to watching. Everything is visual. The visualization is going through forward, and it's very big shift for us in new technologies. And the second is we start to speak about the continuously education from the early ages till the PhD and after that. We have here the sky's the limit. We start to work even with children from the schools in unique projects with very strong and unusual ideas, and they're big providers as well, and they work through our accelerators, through the universities, and we go forward with them. And the last and not least is the big fresh glass with optimism. We need it. Thank you. And
Definitely.
Stay safe and good luck to everyone.
Yeah. Tony, I actually have one more question just to put all of this into perspective between Israel, which is definitely one of the most innovative nations in the world and a hub for early stage and innovation financing, and with the Western Balkan countries, including Macedonia. So, for example, the main innovation agency in Macedonia is the Fund for Innovation and Technology Development, which acts as the innovative agency, even though it has the fund in its name. Now, the annual budget of the Fund for Innovation here is about 16 to 18 million euros. Would you be able to disclose, or what is the public support of Israel towards R&D, towards innovation, towards startups? In terms of an amount, can you say that? Can you disclose that? And I'm asking that just because you worked as in the Israel's Innovation Authority.
I want to mention only about the model, how we do it there, and how we do it till today. The next step of our cooperation, I'm sure we need to do it, is to establish a bilateral agreement between our innovation agencies. It's a must, and it's a first and a must step. The second is to give you opportunity to apply for the innovation agency has a very unique project. It's a visas project. You can open your own startup here through this project. It's very good with good financing, with very low allowance. It's something like 1%, I think. And if you want, you have my mail, you can mail me and we can develop those ideas as well. And the first and not least, you mentioned about the syllabuses and the curriculum of the courses in university. For me, as me, for example, I bring to my students in a curricula to prepare corporate database system. They need to understand the organization in a corporation. They need to understand the functions. They need to understand the financial issues. They need to understand what we need to how to prepare this database to solve the problem of the firm. You know, it's a real opportunity to understand. And after that, they go to the market and they are prepared for the first stage, because we need today the horizontal view of all the problems from all the corners. And especially for our academic staff, they are not only academicians, they also spend a lot of hours in the firms. They work together in firm and universities. And this is the big cooperative vision, that we work together. We are not separated.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's definitely a great suggestion. The second question that we have, and I'm not sure if we'll have time for more, is from Vangel Fustik, and it kind of ties with Tony, what you were saying with your last answer to the previous question. His question, and Vladimir, maybe you can also give an answer to this, is how to identify specific companies' interests in order to collaborate with universities, or universities, R&D centers, etc., etc. Vangel, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, what should be the mechanism? Should it be through an institution such as INNOFEIT? Should it be raised by the university? Should it be raised by a government or public organization, a technology transfer center, for example? Or should it be by the business itself? Yes, of course. Please.
Okay. We have several ways to do it. From university point of view, we have this focal point that are involved to connect to the academy, to the industry. And this person must to bring the industry into academy. What we're doing, for example, we have laboratories, yes? In each university, you have a lot of robotics, very good. We need equipment. Okay, we invite the industries to bring all the equipment from their budgets, and we start to solve their problems. But they don't pay to the students, you understand? But they bring out the equipment. It's very important. We have, from this point of view, we start and develop new technologies for agriculture, new technologies for water technologies, for waste. We have a smart city center that are in cooperation with our municipalities, for example. We work together on the data maintenance in the smart city centers, and we prepared very strong algorithms to maintenance the data. Now, in this moment, we 3 months ago, we established with all our hospitals, for example, the center to maintain the data of COVID. It was very important because without those analysis, with this enemy, we have no chance to progress. And the very important is that we need to survive. This is very important. It's our driving. It's from our energy. is in the world to survive. That's all. And if you have a vision, if you are with good driving and open mind, you will find a way, I'm sure. It's not the commercializations in universities, and connecting with the firms, with the industries is our own issue. And they are very interested in it, industries, of course. We don't need the government level to establish something for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Vladimir, do you have anything to add, or I might have an additional question for you?
I think that what Professor Fuštic here wrote is that it correlates with what more or less I was talking in my discussion. I don't think it's that much important who will actually pinpoint the problems that should be solved. It's more like a mindset shift towards thinking about problem solving, basically both from the academia perspective and the industrial perspective. So we as academia can make more in this area by forcing students to solve real world problems. And we have the, let's say, the very comfort position where we can get public funding for solving different problems which are often not very existent. But we can come up in a way with solutions that can actually then become solutions for problems that nobody else knew that they existed, as Georgie was mentioning before. But then again, it can be a relevant problem afterwards. So we should be open to this type of thinking. As for the industrial partners, I think especially here, most of them think that investing in research is wasting money, which is not true. So I think that it's also it should be a mindset shift in that area also. Thank you.
Thanks, Vladimir. I see that it's almost, well, not almost, but it's at 7:02. Any final remarks from our panelists before I call this meeting to an end? Well, thank you very much to all the panelists. First of all, for joining us today. The discussion was really, really informative, educational, and Tony, definitely inspirational. Thank you very much to all. I really hope that we get to do this again, and maybe next year in person, or face to face, or not over Zoom. I kind of like the old ways better with this regards. I want to thank to all the attendees and panelists that join us today. And we look forward to having you and hosting you in our next session.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody. And I look forward to being able to do this in person and celebrate in true North Macedonia fashion with appropriate food and beverages in addition to our camaraderie. So it was a pleasure for me, and thank you very much.
Michael, we do miss you, so hurry back. I mean, you haven't been here for a while.
That's true. I'm looking forward to coming back.
Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.